Today I'm hopefully finishing my Minecraft mob farm on this skyblock world while also reading some crazy confessions. And this first one is insane, so let's get straight into it. Pretended I was asleep and regretted it instantly. Last night I, female 20, had my talking stage, male 21, sleep at my place. We shared a bed and everything was rather platonic for the most part, until at around 3 AM, he popped a mint into his mouth and suddenly hugged me from behind. That was the first time he slept at my place, the first time he touched me like that, and the first time I was ever touched like that. Being shy and inexperienced ASF, I decided I just continued playing asleep. I like him and I like him cuddling me, but I didn't really know how to reciprocate. Little did I know, for the next 10 minutes, he'd try every cuddling position known to mankind. At this point, I was terrified of showing I was actually awake and had just been ignoring his advances. My breaking point came when he asked me to lift my head. Realizing he knew I was awake all along, I quickly pretended to wake up. After this, he stopped cuddling me. Next morning, everything goes well. He even ends up putting his head on my shoulder while he was waking up. The shock came when he texted me after going home. Well, it turns out my pulse was so fast that he was able to feel it through my arm, meaning he knew I was awake all along. Also meaning I stayed there like a log for absolutely no reason. Also meaning I embarrassed myself by pretending to wake up. He told me he thought I wasn't into him because I kept lying there stiffly and not doing anything. I ended up apologizing. I admitted that I had been nervous, which he called cute, and I promised I'd do better next time, but the humiliation is eating me up from the inside. I feel terrible for him. I hate how I wasn't able to give him back what he needed. Social anxiety makes stuff like this so hard, and now I'm beating myself up for never showing him any physical affection. I truly do like him, and I wish I could give him the same energy back immediately. I'll try to cuddle him next time, but I fear I might freeze up again. The fact he was shirtless probably didn't help either, to be fair, lol. Okay, we're halfway through, and there's an update to this story, but already kind of insane. I feel like if I was in that situation and I knew the girl was next to me, she was awake fully, that's kind of crazy to me, but anyways, let's see what this update is because it's titled Got Friend Zoned Today. So, as the update says, he friend zoned me. For the past while, I've been feeling like he got a bit more distant online, but I naively told myself he just got comfortable enough to not feel the need to constantly text me. He isn't a big texter. Well, today we went shopping together. My friend was supposed to join, but she canceled on us. After a very platonic meetup, I decided to write him a message to let him know that I like him. I'd been feeling like I didn't show him my feelings enough, so this is kind of a big step for me. The exchange went as following, paraphrased. Me. I really wanted to see you. I want you to know that I like you a great deal. Heart. Him. Yeah, I like meeting up too. I'm glad to have you and my friend as homies. Me. Lol. You just rejected me right now. Him. Sorry, girl. I knew something was up when he mentioned my friend unprompted, called me a homie, and didn't send a heart back. Something he did in the past. In the past, he would have at least reassured me after I pointed out how he rejected me. Him failing to do that kind of confirms what I've been fearing. It's been less than 2 weeks since the sleepover. I'm wrecking my brain trying to figure out what went wrong, if something happened, but nothing comes close to mind. 4 months of texting, consistent messages, him telling me that he likes me a lot, a promise of exclusivity, and now nothing? I thought that maybe it's just about the sleepover, but he genuinely seemed to be happy the day after, texting me first about how much he enjoyed it. So yeah, probably not the desired update. I know I certainly had hoped it would never come to this, but it appears we're only friends from now on. Okay, firstly, I want to address the elephant in the room. This is not a talking stage. If he is in your bed shirtless, that's not a talking stage. That means he's trying to get down and dirty with you, okay? So already, it seems like this girl is maybe unconfident in herself, or maybe she just wants something. I think it's more of like an unconfidence thing, no confidence. Because if you had someone in your bed, oh, there's a fly next to me. Oh my gosh. If you have someone in your bed and you are cuddling and you're home alone, there's no roommates, there's nothing like that. The obvious next play is that you guys are most likely getting together. I don't know. There's, of course, a lot of context missing from any Reddit post, but I feel like this probably happened multiple times because if he was moving on like that, that means he was probably looking for some reciprocated physical attention and he never got it. That is my opinion as a male, kind of looking in from the outside in. Now, it doesn't seem like this relationship is done because if they're still constantly hanging out, I am personally a big fan of relationships that start as friends and close friends and then move on to a more romantic way. I don't think that finding your forever partner is going to be through it does happen through dating apps, but I really think that approaching it as like, I just want to become friends with you, and then we can see what happens after that. Because at the end of the day, the person that you are hopefully spending the rest of your life with is going to be your closest friend. So it's kind of not like a shut door for this lady. However, it definitely does seem like a lot of the physicalness is kind of lost. So hopefully these two can figure it out. It looks like they should be fine. I feel like there's still a lot of hope. Maybe he wants a little bit of distance. He doesn't want to pour too much of his heart, especially if it's not reciprocated. But I do think that if they're talking so much, they're really intimate outside of things, just romantically intimate, then I think the physicalness will come back naturally. And maybe this is just they said 4 months, so maybe, in a couple months you'll be back to full force. So that's a really cool story. Let's go to the next one. I lied about having a college degree to get an entry-level job 6 years ago, and now I manage people with advanced degrees. I need to start this by telling you exactly how broke I was, because I don't think you can understand what I did without understanding that first. I dropped out of college in my sophomore year, not because I was failing, not because I partied too hard. My family fell apart. I'm not going to get into all the details, but let's just say I went from being a 20-year-old kid worrying about midterms to being the only adult in my house who could hold a job. Rent was due, groceries were due. I didn't have the luxury of finding myself. I had a bank account with $340 in it and a phone that had 2 missed payments from getting shut off. So I did what you would do when you're desperate. I started applying for jobs. Any job. Office assistant, data entry, junior coordinator, anything that paid more than fast food and didn't require me to be on my feet for 10 hours a day. Because by that point, I was already working a warehouse shift on top of everything else and my body was falling apart. And every single listing said the same 3 words. Bachelor's degree required. I applied to over 100 jobs in 2 months. I got exactly 0 interviews. Not one. I'd sit there refreshing my email like it was going to change something, and it never did. I remember one night sitting in my car in a parking lot. I used to sit in my car a lot back then. It was quiet and nobody needed anything from me. And I just started editing my resume. And before I really let myself think about what I was doing, I typed in a university, a business administration degree, a graduation year that didn't exist. I stared at it for a long time. My hands were actually shaking. And then I hit save and I started applying again. 2 weeks later, a mid-sized logistics company called me in for an interview. I want you to understand, I was not expecting to get the job. I think some part of me thought this was a victimless little experiment. I'd get rejected like always, and at least I know what it felt like to get close. But the interview went really well. Really well. Actually, I was hungry. I mean that literally and figuratively. I answered every question like my life depended on it, because it kind of did. A week later, I had an offer letter in my inbox. They never asked for a transcript. They never called the school, nothing. To this day, I don't fully understand how that happened. Maybe they were short-staffed. Maybe whoever processed my paperwork just didn't flag it. Maybe I got lucky in a way that still doesn't feel real to me. But it happened. And I remember opening that offer letter and feeling this insane, contradictory rush of relief and dread at the exact same time. Relief because, well, I could pay rent. Dread because I knew that I had just built my entire future on a lie, and lies like that don't stay buried. They wait. So I did the only thing I could think of to survive. I worked like my life depended on proving I deserved to be there. 60-hour weeks. I taught myself everything I didn't know from a business degree I never earned. Reading textbooks at 1 a.m., watching tutorials on my lunch break, asking questions I was terrified would expose me, but asking them anyway because not knowing what was worse. I made myself indispensable, not because I was trying to get ahead, because I was trying to survive. And it worked. 3 years in, I got promoted to senior analyst. My manager told me I had one of the sharpest business instincts he had seen in years. I remember smiling and thanking him and feeling like I was going to throw up. And last year, well, they made me the department manager. I'm going to say that again because I still don't fully think it's sunk in for me. I am a department manager at a company that thinks I graduated from a university that does not exist, with a degree I never earned, in a subject I taught myself out of pure panic. Corporate leadership talks about me like I'm some kind of natural, a business prodigy. There's a plaque with my name on it in the regional office. And here's the part that I genuinely can't stop thinking about, the part that keeps me up more nights than I like to admit. I'm now in charge of hiring for my department. I sit in a chair and I hold a stack of resumes, and I look for a bachelor's degree before I even read the rest of the page. If it's not there, the resume goes into a different pile, a worse pile. I have rejected, I don't even know the number, honestly dozens, maybe more, people for lacking the exact qualification that I don't actually have. People who did everything right, people who sat in lecture halls and pulled all-nighters and paid off loans for years, and I tossed their application because some other box on the page wasn't checked the way corporate wants it checked. I manage 3 people right now with graduate degrees from schools I couldn't have gotten into on my best day. They call me boss. One of them asked me last month what my alma mater was like, just making small talk, and I gave her some vague answers about how it feels like a lifetime ago, and I changed the subject so fast I probably looked insane. I live with this constant low hum of fear. Every time HR sends out a company-wide email, my stomach drops before I even open it, because some part of me is always waiting for the word audit. I've thought about what I'll say if it ever comes out. I don't have an answer, there isn't a good one. My wife doesn't know. We've been married 4 years and there's exactly one secret in our entire relationship, and it's this one. I've tried to tell her more times than I can count. I'll be sitting across from her at dinner, and I'll be right there, and then I picture her face when she hears it. The disappointment, the betrayal, the questions about what else I might have lied about, and I swallow it back down. And I swallow it back down every single time. I'm not scared she'll leave me. I think I'm more scared that she'll look at everything I built, everything I'm proud of, and see a fraud standing on top of it. I think I'm more scared that she'll look at everything I built, everything I'm proud of, and see a fraud standing on top of it instead of a husband who did whatever it took to keep their life afloat. Because that's the thing nobody tells you about a lie like this. It's not that it goes away once you succeed, it's that success just makes the fall longer. I earned everything after that first lie. The hours, the promotions, the respect, all of it was real, all of it was mine. But none of it erases the fact that the door I walked through to get here, I forced open with the fake key. And some nights, that's the only thing I can think about. I feel like a fraud every single day. I just happen to be a very, very good one. Okay. This is an insane one because there's so many different routes that this could have gone. And this worked out the best for it possibly could have for this man. Okay, this is going to be a rant that you'll probably hear a lot on this channel about degrees and how I think a lot of them are useless because they kind of put value to something and that doesn't fully define you. And I think now we're going into a transitionary period where work experience is obviously more valuable. As someone who's an engineer, I don't care about my GPA at all. I don't really care about my degree at all. I would get the job that I have now if I just had my internship experience that I did. Now, of course, I got an internship experience because I had my degree, so it kind of works together. But I do think in a lot of situations that you can just work harder and get internship and work experience, and you could go up a level, honestly, possibly faster than someone with a degree. Now, obviously, for some things where, like, for my degree, I need a license, and that requires schooling. I need to go to an accredited university, so that's a little different. But for this person, and in this story, you don't need the degree. So there's a few options that I would personally take going forward. Number one, you just confess it to your wife. Like, just confess it. At the end of the day, she'll be shocked, but you need to just phrase it, sit her down, and explain everything to her. Explain that, yes, you faked it, but at the end of the day, everything after that was something that you worked for. Now, that may be taken in a different way. It depends on who you've married. I think that honestly shouldn't be taken too crazy, but also, how does your wife not know that you went to a college, right? That's where I kind of get confused on these stories, because you're telling me that your wife doesn't know. So I guess the wife did, like, get married 4 years ago based off the story, so maybe they met while he was working, so it's whatever. But at the end of the day, I feel like there should be no lies in a relationship like that, especially if you're married. Cut out all the lies, just tell her. And that's the first thing I would do. But the second thing I would do, and this is kind of just like my personal recommendation, is I would just like quit the job. I would refix your resume, write everything out except change the degree that you have. And then all of your work experience as a departmental manager is going to still be there. That's not going to have changed. You're just going to have that degree right now. And at that point, nobody cares about your degree. Nobody cares about your GPA that you would have had in that degree. People care about your work experience. So you can go into a new job looking fantastic and having that on paper. And even if you're missing a degree, it doesn't matter. You could go get your MBA at this point. But anyways, job jumping is one of the best things you can do. You get around 20% of a salary increase every time you job jump. Now, of course, you don't want to be jumping to 8 different jobs in 10 years because that shows no loyalty. No one's going to invest into you. However, at this point, you've been at the same company for so long, you can switch, you can be honest, you can move forward, because at the end of the day, it's not that then you getting caught is going to ruin everything. It's that it's driving you insane on a day-to-day basis. So I would move on and then go to a new job that you can have more peace at and that you can get paid possibly more at. And then you're in a happy relationship, a happy job, and a happy system. So I think there's a little bit of overthinking to this. I think just also approaching this from an outsider's opinion is very easy. But that's my thoughts. Let's get into the next and final story. I lied to my wife so that she would go to the hospital instead of the pregnancy center. The year was 2011. I was 27 male and she was 24 female. We were young and newly married, having our first child. She was very pregnant and planning the delivery of our first child. My wife had a life-saving surgery when she was very young. She had blocked out a lot of the details, but if you ever saw the movie Awake with Hayden Christensen, it was like that. She could hear and feel everything, and it was very traumatic for her. At least, we think that's probably what happened to her. She was very young for that surgery. Because of this, she hates going to hospitals and cannot stand it. She wanted to deliver the baby in a pregnancy center. It seemed less like a hospital to her. The thing is, she didn't know why she wanted to deliver in a pregnancy center all the time. She had blocked it out. She never really knew why, but she just knew that she hated hospitals. She had always hated hospitals as long as she could remember, and to complicate things, I was an LVN and had some training in and around medicine, in particular with labor and delivery. An LVN is a licensed vocational nurse, which is the same role as a licensed practical nurse, and they just kind of monitor vital signs like blood pressure, pulse, and temperature at a hospital. I took a lot of time off of work so that I could be with her for the whole process and drive her to all of her appointments. I didn't want her to feel alone. We even did those silly breathing classes together like in the movies, but we didn't finish them. Even she thought they were a waste of time. I kept my opinions to myself until she started sharing hers. The thing that concerned me though is that she really wanted to shift to a pregnancy center instead of a hospital. I told her why I didn't want her to do that. An emergency surgical suite was down the hall from labor and delivery, whereas it's across the street at best from a pregnancy center. In the rare event that she needs one, it could save her life when seconds count. She had this strong emotion about it though. It's what she wanted. What I did was I lied. I told her that I had called and that the insurance wouldn't cover it. That's probably true, but I could have at least called. I was afraid that it would have been covered though, and was more concerned about her safety, so I did it that way. It was the wrong way to handle it. I told her about it later, of course, but now I confess it to the internet too. So there you go. That's what I did. Do I feel remorse? Yes, that was the wrong thing to do. I should not have lied to my wife. She deserved better than that. She did up needing an emergency C-section. It's not saying that what I did makes it right, but she's alive today, and so is my daughter, and I couldn't have handled it better. Okay, I'm glad that everything worked out very positively in this story, and I'm glad that there was that update about this because they kind of just said that, yeah, I lied, and they didn't really say any of the repercussions for that. However, knowing that there was an emergency C-section means that you obviously made a decent, well-informed decision. I feel like if I was a female in this situation and I had this mental block on things, there is a better option. Objectively, there is a better, more safe option. And yes, I don't know if pregnancy centers take insurance or if they don't. However, I do know that when it comes down to being a husband, being a man of a house, being any type of father figure, I am going to choose what is the best option for my wife. And what is the safest option for my wife? I want my wife to stay alive. I want my wife to be healthy and happy in this situation. Obviously, she's not going to be screaming with joy while she's giving birth or anything like that. But if there is an option of even a slight option that something could go poorly, I'm going to take whatever precaution it is to make sure that she is okay, make sure she is safe. And that means not going to a pregnancy center. This post describes it really well. You do not want to put your wife in a situation where she is not able to get the help that she needs in case of an emergency situation. So, yes, you did lie, but I think this is one of those white lies that really helps the entire family. And I may have done the same. It's hard to say. It's hard to even put myself in a situation where I have a kid. I'm too young for that, I think. So, and yeah, with that, those are the 3 stories for today. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.